What's good, homies? We are live from sunny South Central Los Angeles, California. My name's Mark, and I'm a recovering codependent narcissist. I've been attached to the outcome of everything in my entire life. I'm always expecting something after I do something. I'm always expecting something's going to happen. And living life like that leads to suffering. Attachment to anything leads to suffering. For me to have real spiritual growth, real personal growth, it's about being different. It's not about doing something different. Like Gandhi says, be the change. He didn't say act like the change. After all, we are human beings, not human actors. I'm attached to everything. I'm attached because of fear. It is this fear that attaches me to the outcomes of just about anything I want to do in life. I'm attached because I think I have some sort of control over the outcome. And this is so silly, man. I mean, I have no control over almost everything in my life. I have, the illusion of control, but that's not control at all. I could take my last breath right now or get struck by lightning tomorrow. The illusion really is that I'm in control in the first place. This illusion, this fear, this attachment, all of these things lead to suffering. And I realize that I'm attached to my suffering, but it doesn't have to be. What if I wasn't? What would it be like if I wasn't attached to my suffering? What would it be like if I could let go of control? How would you operate? Wouldn't you just not know what to do? It's really quite the opposite. Step 6 in Codependency Anonymous is, in this moment, I'm entirely ready to be freed of all of my shortcomings in this moment. I'm ready to surrender these defects of character to God, knowing that the power of willingness to heal is great. Each new step I take in my recovery, no matter how small it may appear, is an affirmation of my wholeness. This is a pretty powerful step. This is, I don't really follow all the 12 steps exactly, but I kind of like what they're going with it. I kind of like the message that is in its entirety. So for me, the opposite of attachment, the opposite of suffering, is really to trust God. It's really to put my faith in God or the universe or the force or whatever you want to call it. And it's also to know that this God force, whatever you want to call it, universe, love, Gaia, is unconditional. The love that you can receive from this higher power is unconditional, and it's got your back. God's love is unconditional, and it has your back. Whoa, it's a crazy concept. Crazy new concept that I'm only just embracing. And in doing so, I can let go of the illusion of control. Letting go of my attachments of how I think life should be. In doing so, life becomes much less frightening. Life becomes much simpler when I learn to surrender to my higher power. And it's easy to fucking say this, but this is a really pivotal and difficult step. Because it means that I've got to surrender control and at the same time embrace unconditional love. I mean, that seems super easy, but it's a challenge. It's a practice. I'm not good at it yet. I'm only just beginning to understand this concept. Really the surrender of control isn't about giving up. The surrendering of control doesn't lead to being out of control. And that's what I was thinking would happen. You let go of control, now you're out of control. What the fuck do you do? What structure do you have in your life? Life becomes more fearful, right? Really, it's quite the opposite. It's much more subtle of a concept than being out of control. It's more along the lines of the Tao. It is the way. It's doing by not doing. And this is like how you're on the path. The Tao is the mother-loving way, man. Come on. Gotta know this shit. So in surrendering control, it allows me to step into my power. It's the realization that this loving God has my back, and that each and every circumstance that I'm in allows me to make free will choices that allow me to face my fears, that allow me to end my own suffering, which allows me to be more unconditionally loving. Just in that word, unconditionally loving, is a difficult concept for me. To embrace the notion of unconditional love is supremely difficult because I'd never really experienced love before in my life. I've never felt unconditional love from anyone, least of all myself, and not really from my parents either. In my life, love was always a conditional thing from my parents. Do X and receive affection or love. But I really say love here, that's not really what I received. It was something different. Love by definition is unconditional. If you're not receiving unconditional love, you are receiving something else just by the nature of the word, just by the nature of that definition. And I guess what I received was attention. And really, receiving positive attention was rare in itself. I would mostly receive attention from my parents after I did something negatively, once I acted out. So I would just get their attention. And that was what I had pattern matched love. Attention equals love. That's not true. All I wanted was to receive love. And, if that wasn't possible, at least I would get some sort of attention. Even if it was negative, at least my parents acknowledged that I was even alive. Because I didn't really feel alive. I always felt fake. Even in my last, with my dysfunctional best friend, at some point in spending time with her, I had to really question whether I was living her experience or whether I was living mine. If we're living in a virtual reality, this is before I got into virtual reality and knew what's up. But I thought maybe I was just playing her like a character in her game. And admitting that that's how little I felt of myself or feel about myself or think about myself. That, I didn't even think I was real. That's pretty crazy. But that's all my parents knew how to give. That's all the love that they understood. I mean, to this day, my mom still uses a shock collar on her dog. Show me the studies that say hurting, any conscious being makes them respond to you more or better or want to love you in whatever way. I mean, for me, it's quite the opposite. What I'm learning and what I think most humans are learning is that positive reinforcement and love is really the answer. It's the answer to just about everything. So to move beyond this idea of just trust and faith as a concept, I had to do some some healing work. You got to do the work to embrace these concepts. And so what I did was went into meditation and went and did some inner child healing work. I'm telling you, homies, again and again, like, if you aren't into meditation, it is so fucking difficult to do any of these things. It's so difficult to just heal yourself regardless. But it's possible. It's really possible if you focus your intent. Before meditation, I was always unconsciously reacting to life, just like everyone else. In doing this healing work, I had to set up scenarios as tools where I would meet my inner child in a meditative state and begin to interact with myself. I learned in doing this to set boundaries with myself, to say no, to really make a safe and non-judgmental place where I could interact with myself, with my child self. It was only when both of us began to feel safe, or at least my inner child began to feel safe, only then did the concept of trust and faith become something more. Only then, after I felt safe, did that concept become something I could understand and feel. Before, if you were to tell me to trust, it was literally impossible. If I couldn't love myself, how could I ever trust myself? If I couldn't love myself and trust myself, how could I have love for God or love for other humans? How could I ever have faith in the divine? So that's where I'm at. I did this inner child healing work, and I have some pretty good tools anytime it comes up. Anytime I feel that fear or feel that need that I need to control something, I relax and maybe take a deep breath or 5. Honestly, breath work is so huge. It's something I'm not very good at because it's difficult for me to breathe out my nose. As it turns out, it's been broken for 25 years. But I digress. Because what I really need to do is consciously make breath work part of my daily practice. When you feel these things, you relax, take 5 or so deep breaths or whatever, and really let go of that feeling. And in its place, in that place of fear, in that place of needing control, just allowing trust in God, faith in the divine, letting that feeling enter my heart. And that's going to be my practice of how to stop ending control. It's, for me, about surrendering control, letting go of control. And surrendering is not letting go. Surrendering is not being out of control. Surrender allows me to be more in the flow. It allows me to be more in touch with the divine. It allows me to trust and have faith in God. So if you find this message, you too are searching for something. There have been truth seekers throughout history. It's the path that I'm on, and it's the path that you're on. It's the path of truth. And I know that it can be such a lonely path. I know probably more than anyone. So I just wanted to let you know that I love you and that you are not alone on your path. And I hope this message gives you courage to continue along your path to find your own truth and to speak it. Because I believe in you. I so believe in you, homie. Thank you for letting me share, and thank you for letting me be of service.